All right, so listen to this. Last week when I was in Vegas, or was it the week before? I guess it's been 2 weeks now. Yes, it's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago when I was in Vegas, I appeared on the Iced Coffee Hour with Graham and Jack. It was great to do it. Super interesting. My perspective was they sort of seemed kind of like center right, pro business Republicans, but that's me giving my opinion. And they started clipping my appearance. If you haven't seen the entire thing, check out the Iced Coffee Hour on YouTube. They clipped my appearance and they put up on their Instagram a clip called "What is a MAGA Republican?" They asked me, David, sir, what is a MAGA Republican? And I described it. I paid close attention to these posts on their Instagram because I was interested in seeing what the reaction would be. It turns out their audience is pretty right wing, and there were many, many, many MAGAPotamians in their comment section. And I decided to engage with a couple of people. And unfortunately, as soon as the rubber met the road and I started asking for specifics, they disappeared. So let's take a look at this exchange. Tell me if this is interesting. I don't know. And again, this is all public. So I'm not doxing anyone. Everything that you're seeing here is public. It's all public. Okay. So a user who goes by the credit Shifu responded and said, many people like myself also vote for Trump just because the policies are good. Smiley face. His tax policies were great, really helped grow my business. Also, since I am a legal immigrant to the US, I like Trump's focus on legal immigration and keeping the border secure. None of that is really extreme. It's just common sense stuff. It's important to separate policies from personality. So I decided to jump in. And I said, which of his tax policies helped you grow your business? Now, I'll admit, I didn't expect any reply, but I got one. Okay. I said, which tax policy specifically? And the credit Shifu came back to me and said the 20% pass-through business deduction from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act lowered our taxes, and we use that money to put towards hiring our first full-time employee, which then helped us grow the business even more. Now, this got my BS radar up a little bit because salaries are always tax deductible. So why would you wait for a reduction to your personal income tax to hire an employee whose salary would be tax deductible anyway? Didn't make a lot of sense. But let's take it one step at a time. I responded, first, you lost SALT deductions in exchange for QBID. QBID is the qualified business income deduction that he's referring to. But second, you hired an employee based on a tax cut rather than business demand. Now, I'm going to have to explain a little bit here. One of the things that Trump's tax plan did is it capped state and local tax deductions at $10,000 a year. And then it also created this new deduction called QBID, the qualified business income deduction. So for some people, it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It wasn't really a big gain. Without knowing how much this guy's business makes and lots of other things, I don't know whether he's lying, but his response was New York State income tax ranges from 4 to 10.9%. Yet the qualified business deduction is 20%, so that's obviously better. Standard deduction was also increased from $16,000 to $24,000 for couples, and the tax rates were lowered. By the way, they weren't necessarily lowered. A lot of this stuff is like, we'd need to know this guy's tax situation. At that time, I didn't own property, so I had no property taxes. Right now, property taxes are $8,000. So about the amount standard deduction was increased by for a married couple. Property taxes on my rental property are still deductible. From what I can see, it mostly affects rich people who own a big primary residence, but then shouldn't they pay their fair share anyway? So unfortunately, a lot of the math here doesn't check out. And I tried to explain it to this guy. And by the way, if this conversation had continued, this would have been really useful, but the guy bailed. So I responded, you're not understanding the math. The qualified business income deduction is a deduction of 20% of the portion of business income that qualifies, saving you 20% of your tax rate, not a flat 20%. And I apologize that it's getting technical, but like the devil really is in the details here. But here's the most important takeaway. And I pointed out, regardless, employee salaries are already tax-deductible business expenses. It makes no logical sense to hire someone because of a cut to your pass-through tax rate when salaries and benefits were deductible all along. If you had the demand for an additional employee, a full deduction of their salary was available to you all along. Sad that people don't get this. Never heard back from the guy. He just bailed. Now, this is a really common thing that these right-wingers don't seem to understand. They insist when a business gets a tax cut, they hire more people. I'm a business owner, okay? Doesn't make any sense. If I get a tax cut, why would I go and hire more people unless I have the demand for it? And as a counterpoint, if I have the demand for an additional employee, the biggest tax cut I get is by hiring them, no matter what the tax rates are. I'll give you an example. Imagine a business that brings in $500,000 a year, and I have demand for an additional $100,000 worth of product, but I just don't have the employees to manufacture that product. If I go and hire an employee for 50 grand so that they can produce the additional products that I have demand for, their $50,000 salary is immediately tax deductible. I immediately can deduct their full salary from my profit, from my net income, and I don't pay tax on that. Why do I need to wait for Trump to create a qualified business income deduction to lower my pass-through income to then go and hire an employee I may not even need? I hire based on demand. As an example, imagine that someone came to me and said, David, we want to hire you to produce an additional hour of content a week just for us. Right now, I wouldn't have the staffing for that. So if they came to me and said, we're demanding another hour of content and we will pay you, I would immediately go and hire an additional producer editor to handle that project. Their salary is tax deductible. That's why I would hire them, rather than getting a tax cut and saying, I don't know, let me hire someone to do some work that I didn't already need them to do. So anyway, the point is, this is a common trope with these right-wingers. We're going to hire people if we get a personal tax cut. Why? Sounds really dumb. You should be hiring people when you have the demand and the revenue to support it. Anyway, the guy bailed. So tell me if that's interesting to see. I wish the conversation would have continued. It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first 2 books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.